All right. I can't get Jamie now, so I'm going live anyway because I want to try to figure something out. Hello. And there's already people here. Scientology up north, craft chats, catastrophe, several days, doom scrolling, convinced we're at end times. I don't, man. I think we are. Between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, one of those motherfuckers is going to run us all into the ground. So, there he is. This is stupid. Yay! I'm so glad we didn't get. It would be so like us. So, Jamie, look at you. Good to see you. How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I was watching The Burbs, an old Tom Hanks movie. Do you know that movie, The Burbs?
Yeah, I never seen it, but yeah, I know it.
It just struck me watching that movie. I think he looks like you, or you look like him, one way or the other.
I used to say that.
That was like the first time he played a dad. The Burbs.
All right.
Oh, that's right. You don't like talking about movies. I've seen a lot of good movies lately, though.
I mean, do people really want to hear us talk about movies?
I don't know. Let me see if I can figure out how to get the stream on here so I can see it. And maybe I know what people might be saying. Comments. There it is. We got quite a few. Haha. Hey, Renee. Paralyzed to paralyze. We gotta say hi to everybody. Yes, we are live. Craft chats and catastrophe. Doom scrolling, baby. I know what you mean.
All right, so we're doing a show.
Wait. Let me say hi to people real quick. Beachcomber.
I really hate that. I when I watch a show and they like say hi for people for 5 minutes at the beginning, it's annoying.
Well, yeah, but we have only a few people, so it's worth it. Right. It's worth it to stop for a second and just say hi to Panda.
Right, do it.
That's it.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Make it simple, baby. Keep it simple. There we go. I like that better.
All right.
Okay. Settle in, babies. What do you want to talk about? I know what I want to talk about.
Well, let's talk about what you want. I mean, you called this meeting, so it's you talk about what you want to talk about.
I think this is fun. Well, the one thing I want to talk about is how much you resist doing this, because I want to do it more often. I think you're funny.
I don't really want to do it. You know, it's harder to do it with you than it is to do it with other people.
It's harder?
Oh yeah, it's worse.
Why? What do you mean?
Because it just reminds me of, I don't have to like, if I do it with somebody else, I don't see their face as a 7-year-old or a 5-year-old. So
well, you see this one as a 7-year-old.
Yeah, so it doesn't trigger me like doing it with you.
I trigger you.
I'm not saying you trigger me, just doing this with someone that I know what they were when they were younger and everything has happened. It's not fun for me at all. Yeah.
It's not fun for me either. You know, it's a thing you got to work on all the time.
It's like,
I mean, think about how I feel.
Well, you want to do it. I don't understand why you want to do it. I guess if you want to, I guess you could make money doing it, right? I thought about doing a channel. I put one together.
Well, no, I make music mostly. That's my main gig, I think. And you know, this is just a cool kind of thing to do alongside it. And it's just kind of like, I think, how the world works now. People want to like know people.
Okay. All right. I mean, the way I see it is, you know, I went through torturous conditions, and
no, I know we all.
Yeah. Hold on.
I don't need you. Okay, I'm sorry.
Let me just finish my thought, and you know, I get to a point where it just gets taxing to revisit it and to, you know, regurgitate and repeat the same old shit about, you know, the mothership and, you know,
right.
Like, yeah.
Well, can I say something, Jamie? We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to talk about the Scientology. We really don't. We're not like contractually obligated or nothing.
I don't care what we talk about.
I want to talk about that bishop that told Donald Trump to be merciful and how ridiculous people's responses are to it. That the people I'm out here, and I'm not a Christian, obviously, but I'm actually on the verge of being offended on behalf of Christianity in the way that now Christians are claiming what she did wasn't Christian. And I think it.
I can't hear you, man. You just muted yourself. You pressed something and you muted yourself. You need to like turn your microphone on. If you just go to your microphone and say unmute.
You're right. It does say muted. All
Okay.
right. Hey. All right.
Yeah.
I thought it just came unplugged.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know
anything.
I didn't see that story. I don't know.
It's not a story. It's the day after the inauguration. It's a tradition. The president and the family and everybody, they go to church. And she gave her sermon. The bishop gave her sermon. And in the sermon, she spoke directly to Donald Trump, and she asked the man to be merciful, that she reminded him that there are very vulnerable and very scared people in the country, and specifically immigrants and LGBTQ people, queer folk. And the right sees, or some people see it as political, like she's bringing politics into the church. And I think it's funny that she's bringing Christianity into the church and they see it as political. Like if she had encouraged him to be brave, would that be controversial? But no, because she encourages him to be merciful. That's controversial. And it's only controversial. It's only controversial to the merciless. The only reason to be bothered by that is if you have a lack of mercy and you know it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Was he bothered by it?
Oh, like again, like a petulant little child. And then after the service, he's all like, yeah, it was kind of crap, right? Somebody asked him how the service was. He's like, It's like, what'd you expect? A floor show? It was supposed to be razzle dazzle?
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm not in the school of people.
He's a bullshit artist. That's what he does. But apparently that's America.
Quite honestly, man, like, I don't like any of them,
Any of who?
Any of the politicians.
Right. Yeah. That's the trick. That's the trick of the liars.
Yeah. Like,
Jamie, not for nothing. It's not, the line is that the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world it didn't exist. But the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing the world the other guy is just as bad. They're not all the same, Jamie. And the people who want you to wait. The people who want you to think they're all the same are the worst ones, the liars, the people who are manipulating, who are scheming behind the scenes and fucking things up. There is a system here that's actually works if we work it, like any system.
I never said they were all the same.
No, I didn't say you did.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'm just speaking to the narrative.
Yeah, and I'm saying based on my observation, very specific observations, which you can ask me about, I don't like any of them. I despise Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Okay, does that mean I want the orange goblin? I don't know. Hey, would you like some vomit, or would you like? I have a genuine question. I have a genuine question. I have a genuine question. I know. It's the choices between the little bullshit and the big bullshit. Yeah. But my question is, what is there exactly to despise? Like, that's a big word about Kamala Harris. I'll never forget it. I was in Chicago, and there was that whole controversy, that whole long thing about whether where he was challenging the election. And when I was in a hotel room in Chicago, when they finally handed it to Biden, okay, whoever votes are confirmed by the House, or whoever confirms it, the election, I don't know. I'm tired. Okay,
you're in Chicago.
Yeah. Okay, and
2020.
Yeah, and so I saved the newspaper because I never wanted to forget the story. Finally, Biden was on the cover of the Chicago Tribune, and there was a camera on Kamala Harris when she was caught, when she found out, and she called Joe to congratulate him. And it was like an Academy Award or a horse race. It was sickening. It was like, you did it, Joe. You're the 46th president of the United States. It was all about him and all about them. To me, if you were somebody that was for the people and you won something like that, it would be, wow, the people won today. This is what we're going to do for the people. Okay. And when you say, well, the greatest dick they ever pulled was to make the other guy was bad. Hold on.
No, just as bad.
Just as bad.
I'm saying that they're all bad, Jamie. Nobody says
both ways.
Like that's the problem with these arguments.
That goes both ways. I know somebody who's a Trumper that sent me this footage of the goblin, the orange goblin, You know, I say that with love. Okay, don't come for me. Okay, don't come for me, bro. All right, so I saw this picture, or like the orange, you know, this that footage of the Orange Goblin. You know, when they were doing, and again, I say that with love. Don't come for me. Okay, and it was him, and when they were doing the thing, you know, when he was saying there were good people on both sides in Charlottesville. Remember that whole thing years ago? And then I saw the clip on CNN probably 100 times. I mean, I quit when he came in 2016. By 2017, I quit television news. I will watch the BBC, okay, because I have that BBC World on my cable. But other than that, I quit the news, and it was like they played that clip over and over and over where he was saying there's good white supremacists, and then there's, you know, there's good people on both sides.
This is
Well,
when the guy drove his car through a crowd of people and killed a girl.
no, that might have been part of it, but I think there was two protests going on about these monuments.
Yeah,
You know,
that was the end of it. As a guy drove
yeah,
his
and
car
then
into
there
a
was
crowd
some
of
white
people.
supremacists. They were doing their thing, and then there was like just regular people doing their thing, saying that they didn't want the monuments, and that it was obvious that the white supremacist side, I guess, was a mix. Yeah, I don't know, of people. It was like white supremacists, but it was also people that were just wanted the monuments to stay. So the guy goes, you know, there's good people on both sides. And I saw that clip over and over and over and over again on CNN and maybe some other news sources. They played it on NPR. They played it everywhere. You couldn't turn on your television without seeing that clip. And then somebody about a couple months before the election sent me the full clip. Okay, where the guy, where he clearly says, right after he says there's good people on both sides, he says, and you see the full clip, he says, I'm not talking about the white supremacists. That was cut out, and they played that on liberal media to the end of time, right? So what I'm saying is, it's like, what do I believe? I have no idea what to believe. All I get is what those people feed me. I don't know what he is. I
Well,
don't know what she is. I didn't like him saying, I didn't like that bad hombre bullshit. I don't like that, you know, the shithole countries was third hand. Okay. I don't like saying they're sending, you know, they're entering, you know, they're leaving, they're emptying their prisons and their mental hospitals. Hold on, let me say a couple things here. Okay. And they're all coming here. They're not sending their best. Dude, we grew up in urban Los Angeles in Mexican neighborhoods. That's where I grew up. Your area was a little less Mexican. It was pretty much a Mexican neighborhood too. It's LA, right?
Echo
Okay.
Park.
No,
We
yeah,
moved to Hollywood. Yeah,
I know, but no, but
I was the
the Fountain Building is in a Mexican neighborhood. You know, the
LA is
House, okay, the Melrose is in a Mexican neighborhood.
The American Southwest used to be a part of Mexico. Okay, I know. Not that long ago.
So we grew up in Mexican neighborhoods, and you know, growing up with those kids, you know, sometimes they were our enemies and sometimes they were our friends, you know. But you know, I feel like knowing Mexican people, going to Griffith Park, if there was a piñata and you wandered up as a poor kid being neglected because you're a part of this weird quasi child prison with no parents barely being around, okay, and they would always let you do the piñata thing, and they were really into their family values. You know, like they're not sitting their best. They're up in front of Home Depot at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? The people that I met in those neighborhoods growing up were amazing people. And so I didn't like that statement. I also went to college overseas in England. Probably a third or fourth of my dorm was Muslim. Okay. And, or, you know, a third of the school. Okay. And it's the second largest religion in the world, 1.5 billion Muslims in the world, 2 billion Christians. There's estimates of maybe at most 225, 250,000 radicalized Muslims in the world. That's so far below 1%, it's not even corollary. And then he bans Muslims, right? So I don't like any, what I can observe is very little because I'm observing it through the lens of these media groups, right? And so I don't feel like I have a lot of information about that guy. He didn't get us involved in any foreign wars, but I don't like what I observed On the other
Did you
side,
read any? Did you read any of the books written about him by the people that knew him, or Bob
no, I
Woodward,
mean,
or any of that?
no, I'm not that interested in him.
I mean, that's where you would find insight.
Okay.
That's why we're supposed to be supporting print news, because that's
the
where you
reality
get
is,
that's where you get the bigger story.
the
problem
I'll
with
tell you how
wait, let me say something now.
Okay.
The problem with the media, and particularly television media, is it's profit motivated. So it's incendiary. They're going to put out whatever it is that is going to draw the most eyeballs. And that's the truth of the internet as well. So yeah, you're right. There's all sorts of fudging of the truth all over the fucking place, because they, as Rupert Murdoch put it, it's not about the blue or the red. It's all about the green, baby. It's all about the green. They put in front of their audience whatever their audience wants to look at, Jamie.
Yeah, the reality, but what I'm saying is, the reality is, I have no idea what he is. I have no idea what Biden and Kamala Harris are. I can only
that's why I wonder about the word despise, because the truth is,
I felt that in that moment of realness, her attention was on winning. It made me sick.
Well, they're genuinely scared that Donald
Trump. It's not just that. It's the laptop. It's this kid being on all these foreign boards and receiving all this money.
Nepotism?
No, it's not. That's not nepotism. That's criminality, man. Like the whole thing. Like, I don't.
It should be, but it's not.
Okay. Well, listen. I have a different definition of criminality than most people. Like,
I'm talking about what is.
Was it technically criminal for my mother to turn me over to a coercive control?
Exactly. It should be, but it's not.
No, when I'm saying criminal, I'm not talking about the statutes of the land. I'm saying such an abuse that it is harmful to so many people, and so horrible and morbid that it's criminal. Okay, so I'm going by my definition of what I think is horrific. Okay. And then
horrific. That's a better word.
Okay, there's certain things in the criminal statutes that I think aren't very criminal. How many black and brown people are in jail all over the United States for drug offenses that are personal drug offenses, because
non-violent drug offenses,
because they're trauma survivors.
Yeah, I don't think as many.
I don't really think
that's where liberalism tries to get past things.
From what I read, Kamala hasn't really been a champion of those people, but she calls herself a brown person. Right?
No, she was a prosecutor. She was on the other side of the argument when she was a prosecutor.
Okay. So we live in California. From what I read, when she was a prosecutor, she was pretty brutal towards trauma survivors that were addicts. Okay. So
that was the standard of the time. That was the understanding. You're presuming that she knows something about trauma survivors and wasn't like taking that into account. I'm saying she knew it just as well as anybody else knew what the standard was at the time dealing with criminality. And also the liberals were backed into a corner all through the 90s about being weak on crime. That was a constant mantra of the right.
There's no
strong on crime, weak on crime. And so yes, it is true. Jamie, come on. I shut the fuck up when you talk. Can you haven't stopped talking for a second. Give me a second. Okay. Because it is, can you get me making me yell? Because it is true that politics is a thing that happens in the world, Jamie. I mean, I feel like your argument is the politics aren't real. But the fact of the matter is, when one side of the argument keeps going, you're weak on crime, the other side sometimes pretentiously overcompensates. It happens a lot if you pay attention.
Okay, listen, I care about what she did. Okay, what she did was like if you're going to run for the president of the United States, then yeah, you should have a record of compassion.
I care more about what she was going to do.
Here's the thing.
In the same way, I care more about what Donald Trump is going to do than what he has done.
You're right.
The past is irrelevant. What I'm worried about is what's happening now, what's going to happen in the days forward, in the next 4 years or 8 years.
I have no idea.
The man's going to declare himself a forever president. You understand that, right? This is going to happen. There is no reason for him to leave.
I just think
he has no incentive to leave. And we don't actually have a mechanism in place to oust him.
Yeah, well, I don't think that our military leaders would let him stay. Okay. But
wait. Pete Hegseth is going to what now? I don't think so, Jamie. Pay attention. He is stacking the deck literally. The Supreme Court is stacked literally.
He can't control.
That's what these people are. They're yes men. That's
control the general.
Have you never read a history book? This is what they do. They install imbeciles. They install lesser people that they can control. That's the whole
he's not
point.
Turn over
That's why he's hiring Fox News hosts.
Okay. I'm not convinced that if I actually could spend a month with either of them, that I have any idea of who any of them are. I don't know that after, if I spend a month with him and a month with Kamala.
Yeah, see, you're falling for the media narrative. The media narrative
No,
has
you
sold you
are.
on this
You're
idea.
just-
No, let me finish the
you're
sentence. Let
repeating
me
the
finish the
matrix.
sentence.
You're
Man, come on.
repeating the matrix.
You are literally saying you're talking about their personality, how their personality matters. That's
No,
the
I have no
media's
idea what their policy is.
Let me finish. That's
Don't
the
put
media's
words in my mouth
conversation.
then.
What I'm talking about is what the intention is that they're going to do. And I don't know that either of those people know what the fuck to do. I would just rather not become the great big fucking monstrous aggressors of the world that we have been trying really hard not to be ever since
Everything you're saying is just noise to me. I don't believe, I think you
because you don't listen.
No, you bought into
No,
the matrix.
that's why it's noise, because you don't listen.
Let me quote a great man, okay, named Lafayette Hubbard.
No, stop.
Okay?
Why? You're the one that doesn't want to talk about him, but here you are talking
about him. But I want to say something about something that he said related to politics. He said, to have a tight knit group, you need an external enemy, and that's why he chose the psychs or psychiatrists to be the enemy, because that's what makes a tight knit group. Okay,
that's what they call it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Okay.
and that's what
we have this. We
otherized.
No, dude, we have this two-party system, and you need this simple two-party system. Before the internet, you need this really simple system in order to create electable officials. Well, now we have ubiquitous information for the last 20 years everywhere, all the time. You don't need that system anymore. That system isn't working anymore. That's why we have a guy like that. Right?
Well, like Benjamin Franklin said, you need a well-informed populace in order for a democracy to function.
So what I'm saying is,
and we don't have one.
We have these two parties that are outdated, that exist to create it's a structure to get the horse race down to 2 horses for an election. It's outdated because of the internet. Okay. And so it's just two forces pushing up against each other. I don't know what either of them stand for anymore. When I was a little kid, Republicans wore ties. Now it's like, now it's hillbillies. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It used to be the working class was the Democratic labor class, and now it seems like it's split. Like, I don't know what any of it is,
because Democrats, I've said this before, because Democrats they don't know what to do when they win. They don't know what to do when they win. They win and they don't really know what to do with it.
I'm admitting that I have no adequate source for information. I don't know who that guy is. I don't truly know who Kamala is. I don't know who Joe was. They all turned me off. I don't know that. I just don't know. I know that I get spoon-fed. If I look at the liberal media, I get spoon-fed a certain narrative everywhere. I know if I look at the right-wing media, I get spoon-fed a certain narrative everywhere. I have no ability to know what's true. I don't have any proximity to those people, right? So the whole thing seems like the fucking Matrix. Like, we have to rely on bad news sources of information on both sides, vested interests on both sides. There's no way to have the information. Then you have all these people, these political people like you, that have this really strong opinion. How do you know? You don't have access to this guy. You don't know what he's like behind closed doors. You don't know.
Did I say I did? Jamie, you're not listening to me. You haven't heard a word I said.
You sounded like Chicken Little a few minutes ago, like the sky was falling because of this election.
Because I do think his intention. Here's what I think. Can I give you my?
Yeah, but
yes, it is a crazy bad shit theory, Jamie. Okay. Just stop talking for a minute.
All right.
I think that's his intention. That's what Greenland and Panama is all about. That he wants to take Panama. He wants to either put the wall north of the Panama Canal or maybe on Mexico border. I don't know. But he wants that northern shore. And this goes back to Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin and the Chinese, they're rooting for global warming because they want the polar ice caps to melt. They want the trade routes and they want the oil. There's a whole bunch of oil on the northern shore of Russia. This is why Rex Tillerson was Secretary of State in 2016. But Jamie, you're literally sitting there going, I don't know. I don't have the information. And I'm going, hey, I've actually read a couple books about this and I do have a little bit of information. And I'm not the kind of guy to just spout shit, Jamie. I hope you know that. If you don't, then forget it.
Well, did you get the information from Gary Busey? Like, where did you get the information? I think you should cite your sources.
This specifically about Vladimir Putin and his plot about the connection with Rex Tillerson comes from a book that Rachel Maddow wrote called Drift, which wasn't about that. It was about how we've moved away from all the stopgaps to war.
Yeah, but she's
deassembled that. I suppose, but it was confirmed by like 18 other things. The point is, Jamie, I read something one place and then I go, okay, maybe. And then I wait until I see it 17 other places before I go, okay, I think that might be true. This has been confirmed by a lot of other voices. This is the first time I read about it. I don't know. It used to matter that you read something in a book. I guess it doesn't anymore. Never mind.
Well, I don't know, but
the point is, there is a shit ton of oil on the northern shore of Russia. The point is that Vladimir Putin was having a really hard time getting at it. I don't know if he has by now. He might have, but that's part of the problem. They want that northern shore. They're all betting on it. China too. So, Trump thinks if we either absorb Canada or take Greenland, that we can then have that North Shore like China and Russia will. This is a real thing, Jamie. I'm not making it up.
He also wants the Amazon. We'll see if he buys it.
No, exactly. He's shooting too high. His goals are incredibly lofty. That's why he's going to end up destroying everything, because he's not the kind of person that knows how to back down. He's not the kind of person who knows how to admit mistake or error. So he will instead destroy everything.
Well, did he destroy the world last time?
No, he didn't he wasn't backed up against the wall. He didn't have to.
I couldn't watch.
No, you're right. You're right. This all might be one of those, those fireworks that don't go off. You're absolutely right. But what I'm talking about is also, again, we also have to remember, Jamie, this isn't about Donald Trump. Just like Hitler, Donald Trump is a tool of a much bigger thing, a much bigger system. So like things like the Heritage Foundation,
that's what
things like, wait, let me stop. Stop. The things like the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, there are things that go back to the 40s. It goes back to integration, school integration, shit that goes all the way back to then, that then comes up into Roe v. Wade and the argument about abortion. There is a Christo-fascist deep state that actually does exist in this country. Do you remember that woman in North Carolina that refused to sign?
I just don't know anything about it, Daniel.
But I do. I'm saying I actually do. This is shit I've been paying really close attention to for a really long time, Jamie.
Okay, so
So I'm just saying there is actually a big plot going on here. There actually is a bigger scheme. And it is about an old-fashioned notion of American greatness.
Is there evidence?
A theology. They want a Christian theology. They want a political system based on Christian theology, and they're coming down on that. That's why they came so hard at Roe v. Wade. Honestly, what the fuck does it matter to a Christian if somebody else is having an abortion? What the fuck does it actually matter? It's a political wedge point. That was the whole point. It was a political wedge point from the beginning. Nobody gave a shit until the politics told them to. Catholics were the only people that even gave a shit about.
Can I have abortion. 1 minute to respond, please? My first statement is...
And last time he didn't have as many psychopaths. Good point. He didn't have as many brown-nosing yes men. He didn't have any adults. There are no adults in the room anymore, Jamie. And okay, here, Jamie, answer me this. Let me ask you something. Why, Bolton, John Bolton, and I think it's for one of those generals. Two of the only people in his administration who pushed back on his bullshit, on his crazy, childish, impulsive bullshit.
Okay,
but they were instrumental in assassinating that guy in Iran. I don't remember his fucking name. Sorry. But because of that, Iran has been trying to assassinate them ever since. And so they've had a security detail. And on day one of his top priorities was to remove their security detail. Also, the next day or whatever it was, released over 200. Whatever they are, rioters, whatever you want to call them.
Do I get to respond? I'd like 1 minute to respond uninterrupted.
Are you kidding me? If you play the video back, you will see that you are the only one in this video who's been talking uninterrupted.
All right, let me know when I'm allowed to talk.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I'd like to respond. Okay, so you said something about Michael Bolton, like when a man loves a woman.
John Bolton.
I don't know who that is.
Secretary of State. But see, that's the point, Jamie. Right. You're sitting here copping to your ignorance and then pushing back on a dissemination of information.
When a man loves a woman.
It is literally insane. It's literally insane. The guy's name is John Bolton, not Michael Bolton.
You cut me off again. I want to talk. Okay. So I've been working the last year, letting the world go by in a hole.
When a man loves a woman.
Yeah. You're saying he's the Secretary of State?
No.
Okay.
The guy with the mustache, Jamie. Were you paying any attention in 2016?
You told me that Rob Schneider was the ambassador to Germany.
It was a joke, and the joke was that you, and I said that at the time. The joke was that you believed it.
Okay. Yeah. So
cultural attaché.
What I'm saying is that you've got these two partisan news sides, this right side, this left side, and they all just feed you what they want you to feed, pushing up against each other. And it's none of the information is credible. I don't really feel like there's too many sources of credible information, because it seems like it's the right agenda or it's the left agenda, and and as long as those are pushing up against each other with their self-interested narratives, we never will look at what's going on. It's a shell game, so that we don't look at what's really going on.
Yeah, and we watched in our lifetime all of the political arguments.
So I just
shifted over. I just
don't believe else. I tend to be a liberal leaning person, but I don't just believe it's all on the right. I can't.
No, nobody. I don't know. Well, no. That's the problem with all the conversations, because they're binary and they're extreme. So everybody on the right says it's everybody on the left, and everybody on the left says everybody on the right. So that's their conversation, Jamie. The reality is, I am biased, and I don't know that I'm liberal.
Did you say that
what
Michael
I have
Bolton
watched? No, his name was John Bolton, Jamie, for the 5th time.
Yeah, Michael John Bolton. That's his name.
Then I have his wrong. Whatever. The guy with the mustache.
Oh, okay.
Does somebody know who I'm talking about? There's a real person. He was the Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense or some shit.
Yeah, big hits in the 90s.
And he was in the Donald Trump White House cabinet the first term. Jamie, why are you being a jerk?
He had that like long hair in the back and it was kind of short in the front.
Yes, and he had a comeback even with the short hair.
Okay.
Him and Ember Castley. Yes, it's very funny. Very
I'm tired. I haven't been following the nominations. Every time I look, it looks like I don't know. It looks like a comic book or something. But maybe I haven't felt
John Bolton with the walrus mustache. Thank you, Rachel H.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
The Lorax as Rubber Renee, right?
Okay. The whole thing was confusing. I watched the inauguration. You got the guy that owns the Washington Post there. You had all these tech bros, these tech giants there. The whole thing was very confusing. You tend to think of these tech bros or these tech.
Well, if you
being left, but they were there yucking it up. Like the whole thing.
They're not anymore.
It's baffling to me. I don't understand it.
Two things I can tell you about. One, if you believe me and the Vladimir Putin connection, you would know that he's literally that he's literally mimicking Vladimir Putin with the oligarch. The oligarchy's on the stage. We just have piss poor oligarchs. And second, yes, they very much changed. And it's mostly about money, because all this tech development, especially of recent years, isn't yielding as much money. And so now they're more interested in the tax breaks, and they're much more interested in the deregulation, being able to break things and yell loud or wherever that bullshit is. They're much more interested in being allowed, especially with AI. They want to be able to just do whatever the fuck they want without any restraints or restrictions. And there's an argument to be made that government doesn't really know what it's talking about. Like, when Mark Zuckerberg was testifying in front of Congress, they couldn't understand how he made money, and he had to explain to them that he had ads on Facebook, and that's how they, these guys don't really understand the tech.
I don't know why I'm here. You've got it all figured out.
That's my opinion. So, how do they regulate it? I don't know. And so the tech bros want to be allowed to regulate it themselves, but we have seen historically that's not usually a good idea. And not for nothing, I have the Skynet paranoia. This is exactly why these are the guys that turn on Skynet. These are the guys that go, whoops, sorry, thing went, and that's the ridiculous of it, because they are childish, because they're so childish, because they really are, man.
And now it's Terminator 2. Like, it's a very confusing conversation. Okay.
It's not really. I was listening to a woman who has been a beat journalist for the whatever it's called, Silicon Valley, for decades, and she knows all these guys, and she's known them forever. And she was talking about on something I was listening to this morning, because she you know, that's the question people keep asking. What happened to these guys? Because like you said, didn't they used to be liberal, California liberal and all that? And she's like, yeah, and things change. It changed. And it's really about money and it's about egos. And it is about this weird infantilization thing. Like she talked about a party that she went to where all these tech bros were dressed up like babies, like wearing diapers and drinking.
Did you say that Michael Bolton was the secretary?
John Bolton. His name is John Bolton. Jamie, are you mentally deficient,
Okay,
sir?
I'm just sorry. I just
you're so Chris Tucker right now.
okay.
What's his
All right. I just can you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? So yeah, I don't know enough about politics. I try to see people as people. I try to look at policies as policies. You know, a lot of it's confusing. There's things.
Well, this is the thing that's the most shameful is that most of this really lies at the feet of the American people who, like you, don't really know, wasn't really paying attention. I don't know.
Oh, I'm the American people now.
Well, no, that attitude you just expressed is common amongst the American people, the apathy of, and also the disengagement.
You know what I think it is, honestly? Like, I'm kind of playing stupid because I'm tired and I don't really want to be here because I think this is stupid. Okay. I don't really want to. Okay. So, you know what, honestly, I believe that the reason, listen, the majority of America is still barely white, which means the majority of poor people in America are still white. And it doesn't matter what the ideology is. When you tell poor people, even if they're poor white people, that they're fragile and they're privileged, do you know what they do? They vote for Trump. The left created this mess.
Fragile and privileged.
They vote for Trump. The left created this mess. You can't. Doesn't matter if an ideology is true or it's not true. If you take an ideology and you shove it down someone's throat,
well, back up. I need you to find a couple terms. Wait, back up. What was the thing you said? Something ideology. How does one? Okay. And this is not just you, Jamie. This is every time I hear it. So what does that mean? Shove it down your throat. What does that actually mean? Like in actual actions?
I think
describe it.
I think in the history, in the history of the world, you have generations.
Because let me say
question.
Okay. I just wanted to give you a comparison. That's all.
Okay, you have generations that don't have the mindset and understanding of the younger generation. And then the younger generation sees something and embraces something. It can be real. It can be trivial. Like, when I can't imagine what it was like when Elvis came along. For older people, like parents.
I don't think Elvis was trivial.
No, what I'm saying is they see this guy shaking his hips, going crazy, and they're just like, I don't even understand what this is. Okay.
That was sex.
So there's a lot of ideology that's come in that that working class people, older people don't necessarily understand. And so you can enlist understanding. You could say, listen, this is why we think this. Here's the data. Or you could say, this is the new ideology. You're fragile. You're privileged, even if you're a poor white person. And
I've never heard anyone say that. I didn't know that was messaging. I didn't know that was a message that exists in the world, Jamie. Fragile and privileged, even if you're poor.
Well, what's that woman's name? Robin DiAngelo. I don't want to get it wrong, right?
I hear both sides accuse the other side of being fragile all the time.
Okay, well,
privilege in that the reference to white privilege.
I'm not commenting on the ideology. I'm saying if you have a radical shift in ideology, I'm not commenting on if it's right or wrong, and you tell half or 2/3 of the country that don't understand it, that they're going to accept this ideology and they're going to have their lives operate by this ideology.
All right, back up. Again, radical. You use a word like radical. What is a radical shift in culture? Whole Foods. To me, the prevalence of Whole Foods. Is that what we're talking about?
No.
That's a shift in culture that I've noticed.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
I don't know what you mean. Look, Jamie, let me say something, because here's what I hear all the time. When people were talking about critical race theory, I heard people all the time insisting
That's a
that was
pretty radical shift in culture.
It was just a conversation, Jamie. It was just simply a conversation. And I kept hearing people talk about how that was being shoved down their throat. When Stonewall, like when gay people do just about anything, there's somebody standing there insisting that we're shoving it down their throat. Listen, so I don't know if I believe that line.
Listen, I live in the most left city in America. Okay.
And so to you, maybe.
No, let me answer. Let me see.
Maybe I've said this before. I want to live in Portland. I think it taints your opinion.
It might, I mean, I have a close person that's close to me that goes the other way, and they live in San Francisco, and they're the other way. But we have an open air drug scene downtown here. Okay, and they call it things like houselessness. Okay, it's all they legalized drugs here in Oregon a couple of years ago, and then we had the worst spike in addiction in the history of the state. Now they're repealing all those laws. Permissiveness isn't compassion. Okay, so if I went to a town hall, and they were talking about the drug scene that was right outside our door in Old Town, which just permeates downtown Portland, and they were talking about it as a problem of houselessness and homelessness. Purely like that's it. It's conclusive. That's what it is. Now, I grew up near downtown LA. I didn't see it that way. I thought, well, this is a little more complicated than that. This is an addiction problem, not a homeless problem. Okay. But was I going to say anything? No, because I knew where I was. And I'm not going to say something that's going to get me shouted down and shouted out of the room. Okay. But one guy did stand up. Everybody was kind of going along with this narrative that it was all just houselessness and homelessness, and that was the issue. And I thought, well, I don't really think it's that, but I'm not going to say anything. One guy got up and said it. Hey, why are we calling this houselessness? I was watching an interview with a local Portland homeless person the other day, and they were saying it is a mistake to think that the addicts are becoming homeless. What this woman was saying on OPB was she felt that when one becomes homeless, in order to deal with their homelessness, they're becoming addicts. And there's other people that would say the other side. Okay. My point is that this guy got up and he said, hey, we don't have and again, he said, he started calling it an addiction problem rather than a homeless problem. Okay. I don't have the data. I'm just saying this is what he said. I haven't seen the data. Okay. He got screamed at. This woman got up, that was one of the organizers, and started screaming at him. So that's what I'm talking about when I say there was no dialogue. When I say shove down your throat, there was no like, hey, well, let me talk. Well, what about this? Well, look at this data. There was no conversation. It's two sides screaming at each other.
Yeah. From across a great big abyss.
Yeah.
With opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. With 85 airplanes.
And on top of that, Jamie, 99% misunderstanding the other side completely. Most of the arguments I hear from either side is on some fundamental level misunderstanding the other side. Yeah. Because they're just screaming at each other. And this has been a problem for everybody, for the entire culture, perhaps the whole world for a while now.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. I think so. Yeah. I think that there's been, and again, I'm not commenting on the ideology. I'm not saying it's bad ideology, but there's been this ideology of CRT, this ideology of gender, this, that 50%, maybe 60% of the country does not understand. Okay. So you can, if you want to communicate that the world has changed and this is the new ideology and you're going to take it whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. When like I said, the majority of America is still barely white, which means the majority of poor people in America are white. And part of this new ideology is that all white people are privileged and they're fragile. Okay. And when you tell poor white people that they're privileged and fragile, what do? they vote for Trump. That's
They
what
vote over
they
the
do.
guy who's going to tell them he's got the
Yeah,
biggest dick
like
in the room.
let's talk
I
about
get
another
it. It's an old argument. It's ancient.
Okay, so
it's ancient.
Okay, so let's talk about another piece of the ideology. I want to get your opinion on this. This one's a good one. Okay.
Oh no, I just wanted to say one thing. It's just that I feel as though you want to kind of lay the blame of the not able to message the message, but at the same time acknowledging that the communication is shit and nobody's talking to each other. Like that has been the biggest problem. Is that like, for example,
you're screaming at someone and you're not having a conversation,
for example,
that's shoving it down someone's throat.
I know that's called America, Jamie. Welcome to it. For example, the infrastructure thing that Joe Biden did, like stuff that bill created is now going to be happening now in the next 4 years.
Everybody wants to hear us talk about the mothership and the aliens and the space captain and the love boat space captain guy. Why don't we give the people what they want, Daniel? Do you really want to continue to talk about this stuff? But I want to ask you one question before we move on, okay? And I don't know how much more, okay? Let me ask you a question. I want to ask you a fucking question.
Oh, yeah, I just keep, but I know, I already had questions and it's annoying me that I can't.
Okay, well, I'll ask you one more question, then you can do whatever you want, okay?
Oh, is that right?
I want to answer, it's a question in response to the ideology question, okay? You know, one of the ideologies, okay, like take something like systemic racism. Of course, there is systemic racism, okay? Like to me, like this is how wacky my mind works. I believe that we have a country, the most successful country in the history of the world, that was built on a economic system of enforced labor. Now you have the descendants of those people that are disproportionately lacking capital, lacking education, and exposed to the violence of poverty. Okay,
I don't know. According to
let me say something. So the idea
that's not true anymore.
The idea that something radical doesn't need to be done to correct that is bonkers. Of course, there's something owed there. We built it off the forced labor. The descendants are doing as well. We're genetically simple. If you go lynch someone, you just lynched yourself. We're the same. Okay? It's not okay that there's a problem where people of color are disproportionately don't have access to education or capital and have to live in the violence of poverty, which I grew up in. Okay? A worse poverty in many, I think. Okay? But here's the trick where it starts to get weird for me. Okay? So say you're a 7-year-old child. Okay, of course, systemic racism exists. Okay, but if you were to go up to a 7-year-old child and say, a black kid, and say, listen, you've got these characteristics. You're black and you're poor. These are immutable characteristics that you had no power over. You have nothing. You're 7 years old. Okay, and because there's this thing called systemic racism. So you're effed. That to me is predeterminist. And you think like telling a poor a kid.
Wait. That's only half the conversation, Jamie. I think the rest of that conversation is things like affirmative action, DEI. We're not like that's the difference between liberals and conservatives, in my opinion, is that liberals acknowledge that there's a deficit. Conservatives don't. Liberals go, okay, so because of this thing, this history, this past, you're starting behind the finish line or behind the starting line where everybody else is. So for that, to try to make up for that, we're going to help some of you a little bit more than we help the ones who start at the starting line. Yeah, but that's exactly what they don't want.
I would agree with that. I would say that you do that through education and access to capital, as Jesse Jackson.
Right, education, access to capital, particularly higher education. That is exactly what they attempted to do.
Quoting Jesse Jackson,
but last week they canceled DEI. Last week, and a few years ago they got rid of affirmative action. So according to the mainstream line now, we're post-racial. Everything's equal. These things don't matter, and that pushing DEI or pushing. Or trying to help marginalized people of color, or other marginalized people is simply dragging the standards down of the privileged, cis-normative hetero white men. I mean, this is so racistly patriarchal at its face in the beginning before we even get into the weeds. And it's like, okay.
What I'm telling you is,
I mean, diversity is anyone other than a
what I'm telling
or
you,
normative hetero white man. You understand that, right?
Okay, I get it. Yeah, what I'm telling you is you have a point, okay? But I'm also telling you that telling a poor black kid at 7 years old that their life is effed because of all of these intersectional things that are against them is cruel. And
usually the conversation is, so you have to work harder, baby. I've heard mothers give this talk to their children, and it's more along the lines of, here's the history, here's the thing, here's the deficit you're working with, so you got to work harder. You got to work harder, baby.
I agree.
That's the line I heard. I don't know about this one. I don't know about the "so you're fucked," because even the coldest version of that narrative.
I actually think you make a good point. I think this is a really good point, Daniel. I think that when it comes from the parent, that is the conversation. Yeah. When it comes from the system, when I've seen it come from the system, it's you're effed.
But again, you're only reading half the line.
Or I didn't say I was
like a good Republican. You're only reading half
the sentence.
The other half of that sentence is, so then therefore we acknowledge that, and here are the things we're trying to do to help out. That's the other half of that sentence. You cannot just pretend that doesn't happen. You can't just stop in the middle of the sentence and pretend that that's.
Osa wants us to talk about this.
What are you talking about? Who gives a shit what Osa wants? Why are you thinking about Osa right now?
Osa wants us to have this conversation so that we're not talking about other stuff.
What do you want to talk about, Jay? I don't want to talk. You said you don't want to talk about Scientology. We don't have to. You know, somebody up here just a minute ago just said I just like listening to the two of you talk. Like, it's not even about all that. There you go. Oh, there it goes.
Whatever. I mean, I'm tired. Listen, I'm gonna put a disclaimer in this thing.
I don't think you understand what this is. In the same way the Dems didn't understand what Joe Rogan was. You don't understand what this is.
I think we've gone through an ideological shift on the left that 60% of the country does not understand.
And I think, the problem is that they don't understand.
Yeah, and so rather than trying to get them to understand it, words like "we never grew up." I'll tell you some words we never grew up with. We talked about this in a video one time. Grace, compassion, forgiveness, kindness. These are words that were not the vernacular in our childhood. Okay, so rather than going, hey, how can we get you? How can we enlighten you to see our point of view and have a conversation to see everybody's point of view, right? Because the way on my mom's side, my grandparents grew up in the segregated South. And when they told me stories, my grandmother told me stories, it was no picnic being a poor white person in the South back then either. Okay. It's not a comparison, but the way my grandmother would say it to me sometimes, the only thing worse than being black sometimes was being white trash back then. Okay. I wasn't there, but I'm saying ultimately we have science. We have an absolute science where we know that we're all the same. We know that we are genetically the same. Okay. Outside of the melanin in our skin, the broadness of our noses, and the coarseness of our hair, we are identical. That's the conversation.
Well, all the differences are cosmetic. They're not genetic.
Right. Yeah. So, to me, what we should be talking about when you look at the descendants of slaves are disproportionately have less access to capital information or dealing with the violence of poverty. If you're okay with that, if you're okay with that injustice to those people, then you are okay to that injustice to you, because they are you. Get it? They are you. And what I don't like about all these politics, all of this ideology, is it's divisive. Like, to me, I could sit there and go, we could talk about gender, we could talk about that ideology too, right? And that can get very divisive because people don't understand it. Here's how I'd rather talk about it. Every human being on earth deserves access to dignity, deserves access to
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness,
belonging,
possession.
I don't understand, all of this stuff. I just know that no matter who I grew up, you know, I was pretty embarrassed about what happened to me being involved with this Love Boat thing. Okay. I know what it's like. And then going off into the regular world, going to college and being around all these people who came from something normal that knew no idea that I had this crazy secret. Okay. I get right. I know what it's like to not belong because you don't feel like you fit in. You don't feel like you make sense. Like, let's have that conversation of, hey, we need to create a society, a space where it's kind of like when you talk about freedom of speech. Okay. If you believe in freedom of speech, you believe in the people that you disagree with and their right.
I agree with their right. I will defend your right to say, for the speech. But see, what people forget about freedom of speech is that other people have the freedom of speech to respond. And often people think freedom of speech means they're allowed to say whatever they want with no consequence. And that's not what it means.
Well, here's the thing. I could walk up to a hillbilly. Sorry, hillbillies. I say that as a term of affection. In somewhere in rural Virginia or the Appalachian Mountains, and I could say DEI, gender, trans, blah blah blah, and they're going to lose their S, okay, because they don't get it. Okay,
we fear that which we do not understand.
Yeah. So say I walk up to that person and I talk to that person about belonging or what it's like to not be able to live in your skin because you feel like the gender in which you're born is not the gender in which you feel.
Right. Let me ask you something.
Hold on, let me just finish this last sentence, then you go. I believe that hillbilly, if you put it to him that way, would go, yeah, I want to belong. I think everyone's got the right to belong. So, like, how do you want to have the conversation? That's what I think.
Right. No, Jamie, let me say something about conversations. Okay. So I want to know how you expect anyone to have any of these conversations. Now, not for nothing, again, as a queer person who has had these conversations with many people.
You're a queer person?
What do you mean? Yes, Jamie.
Yourself? What?
Yes, of course.
Are you kidding me? No.
Who has had these conversations with many people. All right. I don't know what you're doing sometimes. Who have had these, I've had these conversations many times. Okay. And so there's a great big wall of homophobia that's really hard to get through, Jamie. It's really hard even to disseminate the information through the icky, okay. Not for nothing. So, and as you describe the media landscape as being a lot of noise and people yelling and nobody knows what's really going on. So I want to ask you, sir, how do you expect people to have that conversation? People are having those conversations, but you have to look for them now because no matter where you put it, there's only a small, all audience are niche now. There is no broad everybody audience anymore. There just simply isn't. Not even the mainstream media.
Nobody wants to watch the mainstream
media. And so the fact of the matter is, every time I've heard somebody complain that the politician didn't say that, I go, yeah, they did. And I'll show you where they said it because they did. It's just, we're not listening. That's the truth, Jamie. We're not fucking listening. Let me wait. I have one more thing to say about conversations. Because in our lifetime, I have watched a few political conversations go from an argument about the sovereignty of an individual to make a choice for themselves to whether or not a fetus is a person. Let me finish. Stop. I can see you already. I've watched the conversation go from how do we stop global climate change to whether or not global climate change even exists. I've watched the conversation go from whether or not we should still be America's police to go ahead and just lean into being America's bully. So, and there's only one side of that conversation. Somebody changed those conversations and it was a side, not for nothing.
Well, I mean, I think that the system tends to react off of itself. We get
whatever, dude. I just threw your logic back at you and you don't want to hear it.
I don't understand. I don't understand the point. What's your point?
That what? If you earlier in this conversation were giving me the sort of throw up your hands kind of mentality that I see from a lot of people, the disengaged or partially engaged voter who only kind of pays attention, doesn't really know, but feels very strongly about their opinions, political.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this, Daniel. Like, one of the reasons I don't want to have these conversations with you is because I never know what you're going to want to talk about, and then when you have me talking about politics, right? I don't really want to be talking about politics because I do public work. I try to be a humanist and get along with everybody despite what their beliefs are. Okay. And I've met people that are liberals that I can't stand, and I've met people that support Trump that I love, and I've met people that support Trump that I can't stand, and I have liberals that I love. I try to take.
Everybody would agree with that. I don't know a person who wouldn't say exactly that.
I had people tell me in Portland during the first election here that I heard this from multiple people, that if I would even know or be friends with, or even be willing to like stand in the same room with, and grant them the ability to be, and look at them as a human being, somebody that supported Trump, that they didn't want to be my friend anymore. That's what this has become. I'm not allowed to be friends. Like, I don't really look at ideology in terms.
I'm not arguing with that. I mean, I feel like you think I'm arguing with that.
No,
You're
not.
There's a problem. Nobody's happy with what's going on.
I don't really like being in a situation where, like, we're talking about politics, and I feel like no matter what I say, it's going to be taken out of context in the future and used against me. That's how
By whom? That's a paranoid thought, Jamie. Are you running for office? And never nothing. Here's something I think that is true. That as this is happening, let me say something about media in general. As this is happening, and as we're all kind of becoming a little more self-aware of it, I don't think the cropping clips to make somebody look bad gimmick is going to work anymore, Jamie. A lot of these old tricks that tricked us to where we are now, that's how it works. They're kind of exhausted. You can't really use those tricks as much anymore.
Yeah.
I think people just in general are becoming more media savvy. Yeah. Older people are, going away, and younger people. No.
I remember.
And the next hurdle is going to be like recognizing deep fakes and AI generated stuff.
I know, like, it's impossible.
Never mind cropping the way he said that. You know what I mean? Never mind an editorial. That's old school. That's quaint, man.
Again, can you give me 90 seconds uninterrupted of where my conflict lies? Okay. I remember watching this interview with Bob Barr, who was the FBI agent that Sirianna was about, but the real guy. The guy lived in Beirut for a long time in the 80s. Okay. And he was commenting on these enhanced interrogation techniques that the Bush administration was using, Rumsfeld, and they were asking
Cheney, say his name.
And Cheney, okay. And they were asking him, what do you think about this? And it's a very interesting thing because, going to school abroad and being probably one of the few Americans in my entire undergrad, there was a lot of anti-Americanism. I had to do a lot of it, like being the asshole American in the school, in my undergrad program. Okay, so I had to deal with a lot of anti-Americanism in the dorms, among my friends, among the Europeans, and Bob Barr said this really interesting thing. He said, "Listen, we have evidence that torture doesn't produce good information. It's not enhanced interrogation; it's torture." And he said, "Listen, people have a love-hate attitude towards America. Okay, they hate us, but they also do kindness. While they hate us, American, they also see us as the shining city on the hill. It's both. But they also hate it. But they also hate our foreign policy. It's like a weird relationship towards America. But they love our movies. They love KFC. They love that Taco Bell. They love the exports.
They love our entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay, yeah. So Bob Barr said, and it was this really idealistic thing. It was really powerful. He said, here's why it's not okay. Like, these people, they may hate us, but they also still look to us. And he said, when America goes dark, the world goes dark.
Yeah.
Right. So, and this is what I'll say, how I felt back in 2016. That when you're missing the super warm and fuzzy puppy dog, cotton candy, and bunny rabbit days of Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, you're in trouble. Okay. Right. You're in trouble. That being said, that was a visceral feeling. I don't feel like I have access to information. I love things like Substack because I think there's really interesting journalists out there like Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi and others, Nick Kristof, uh, these incredible people that you can go to these Substacks and get real information, but I feel like it's really hard to find real information these days. Like I feel like you have like 5 huge 757 airplanes running at full blast on the ground. Each side is standing across the football field with the airplane engines between them, trying to shove righteousness down each other's throats. And that feels like a shell game. I often feel like, what do they not want me to look at because I have to stare at this shit show?
Well, yeah, the whole thing. I mean, I think a lot of the powers that be, politicians and corporations alike, have leaned into this chaos because it creates a customer base, a consumer base, a work labor force, all of the people, voter base, and all that are easily controlled and controlled. So that's the whole point of distract and, what does he call it? Flooding the zone. That's the whole point of flooding the zone. Yeah, so nobody really knows what in there is actually important. Yeah, there's about 5 or 6 things in there that really matter, and the rest is just smoke and mirrors bullshit.
Yeah. So so I don't, when I escaped from the mothership, I had this relative that grew up in the segregated South, and she was wild. She used to just gave me this opportunity where I could stay with her, and for the first time have insurance. And I had insurance. Bev gave me insurance for like a year when I was a kid, so I did have. Bev got my teeth fixed when I was 12. Because I had smashed my front teeth. But other than that, I hadn't had insurance my whole life. And this relative said, you're going to have insurance, access to a car, you're going to have allowance, but you have to be in school. You have to be studying. Because I hadn't gone to school pretty much my whole life. I did go to South Eugene for 1.5 years, 2 years, and then Roosevelt Middle School for a semester. But the problem was I was so far behind, I didn't really go to school, right? So I would say I didn't go to school my whole life. At South, I got straight F's or close to it. The only class that I did well at was typing. Okay, and then I got D's or F's. Okay, so I didn't, because I was so far behind. I just sat at the back of the class and thought I was dumb. I needed eyeglasses. I didn't have eyeglasses. We were poor. So
I had the same problem when I started in public school. I was from a middle class.
I escaped the mothership. Okay, and this relative makes me this offer. This relative had made me the offer when I was 16. I was so illiterate, the thought of going and trying, like I was 20 years old, I didn't know how to use a comma. I had a kindergarten writing level and a kindergarten math level. I could read because we were studying the doctrine, right? So I could read at a high level. But my point is this relative was so optimistic, and they'd grown up in the segregated South, right? And they were like, Jamie, you could do anything if you set your mind to it, right? Like these cliches, okay? I thought this person was batshit. But then I thought, this is my only option, or I'm on the street. So I began to just go along with what they say, this ridiculous optimism, because this is my only place to be. So okay, all right, yeah, you could do it. I just went along with it.
The ridiculous optimism. That's funny.
And I do feel that because I had the monkey off my back, and I only went along with that idea of the optimism because that was the person I had to do that to survive. Maybe I fawned, okay? And it ended up working to a degree. So I do think mindset, having to not have, violence right at your doorstep, and having opportunity to education, and having an optimistic mindset is powerful. And I worry about, with these war of ideologies, that it's just so divisive. And sometimes
that's a media catchword, divisive. Divisive means unresolvable, and it's nobody's fault.
No, not to me.
It's just sort of like, politics are divisive.
No. I explained it.
I'm not saying, Jamie. I don't know necessarily. I don't know necessarily. I'm just saying that word. You keep using that word.
And to me, it means there's a way.
It is a media word.
To me, okay, I didn't know that. To me, it means that there's a way to communicating where you don't have to tell someone they're stupid and make them feel bad to try to and force it down their throat to get them to agree with you.
And again, my point. Wait. I have to reiterate this because I already said this. Okay, when I hear forced down throat, what I have usually seen is people who just don't want to hear it. When I hear people go, "Oh, you think you're smarter than me?" It's because they think they're not smarter. All of this is projection. all of this is the individual self-doubt, and you're pushing it out on somebody else.
I believe that when you try to communicate to people in a way that where you can enlist their understanding based on their life experience, you can get them to see your point of view. You know, like I met a Republican
and that's
family.
an art form, literally.
I know, but I was down in Georgia or something a few years ago, and I met this. I was staying at a nice hotel, and there was this kind of bombastic, loud, kind of rich Republican hillbilly guy from Kentucky that was there, and I was trying to avoid the guy. But one day I kind of got stuck in the waiting room or the reception waiting for my ride to pick me up, and him and his wife were there. And they started talking to me, and I was just like, "Oh my God!" Like they really want to be talking to this mulatto guy, these rich white people from these hillbillies. And again, are
they rich or hillbillies?
Both.
I guess that's a new American.
They were rich. I'm using that as a Southern, but I say it as a term of affection. I don't mean anything by it. But the wife starts talking, and I just think that they're homophobic. I think they're probably racist. I have all these ideas in my head about them. Okay. And then the wife starts talking about how they have 2 daughters. And I'm like, okay. I'm just like, just don't want to be there. And then they're both lesbians. I was like, okay. Right. And I'll tell you something, maybe the woman was intimating to me that maybe they were a bit homophobic. Okay. But when they had 2 lesbian daughters, they weren't homophobic anymore. And then she keeps telling me more. One of them is married.
Shane, you did the same thing.
I was like, one of them is married to a woman. I was like, great. And she's like, and she's having a baby. And I was like, okay. And the husband's nodding, and I'm like, okay. And so they had to get a sperm donor. And I was like, okay, because one of them was pregnant. And she goes, and so they chose, these are people in Kentucky. So they chose a black sperm donor. Okay. So now they're about to have a black.
So they have a mulatto grandchild.
A black or a black. I mean, I came out, you never know how someone's going to come out. You could be anywhere from,
mixed race. Mulatto just means mixed race, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, I mean.
Or mixed race. Then let's use the phrase mixed race. I've always worried about the word mulatto.
But a lot of the times, it's a derogatory term. But
I don't know.
It's a pejorative. But a lot of the times, people that are maybe mixed race, we just identify as black and are black. So it is what it is.
Well, as Chris Rock says, just one drop.
But let me tell you something. This is what I'm talking about. Like all of a sudden, these guys had their family. They had 2 queer daughters, and now they were about to have a black grandson. Okay, they weren't homophobic anymore, and they weren't very racist anymore. Okay, because it was right on their doorstep. It was either change or not know our children. Okay. So that the point being
integration. That's called integration.
Yeah,
that's
but
the only answer.
I think that if you speak to people in a way that in which they can, where you're trying to enlist understanding. Like if I want to talk about gender with someone that grows up in a place where it just wouldn't be accepted out in a rural part of America, and I come in and I start talking to them about gender and how we have to accept all gender, I'm going to get a certain amount. They may push back, right? I don't say that. I say, hey, let's talk about belonging. And I have a 20-minute conversation on, can a human being survive if they can't belong? They're going to say no. They're going to understand belonging if they're poor. Okay. And so then you say, okay, well, what would it be like for you if you were, felt you were different, if you experienced a different sex than the body you were born in? Is that person going to be able to belong in society? They would probably say no.
They don't even belong in their own body.
Yeah. So then you could say, well, is then this a human issue that we should all maybe care a little bit about?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, do we communicate it in a way where we're trying to enlist understanding, or do we communicate it in about where it's like, this is the way it is now, so shut the F up?
Right.
I just don't think that works.
What I'm saying, nobody does. Nobody's defending that, and nobody wants to be doing that. So what I'm saying, Jamie, is, and this is true of every argument ever in the history, is you start out explaining it. Hey, how about let's talk about belonging. Let's talk about civil rights is human rights. Let's talk about, you know, that's how these conversations start. But then somebody in that conversation doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to hear it, and starts screaming at somebody. So like, I'm going to speak specifically because you keep coming back to the trans issue, you keep coming back to this queer issue, and something you have to recognize is there's a great big religious go fuck yourself that is constant in this conversation. Okay. So it's a night, you know, yes. And I've had these conversations, Jamie, where you talk to somebody about belonging and they totally get it and they're totally with you. And then you say, does that apply to queer people? No, nope. That's different. They want more. They want special. And they say these things to my face, Jamie. I'm not making it up.
Yeah, but they're saying,
you know, and also never. Well, no, that won't get it.
Okay, so let me say something that you'll like.
So I'm just saying there's more to that conversation than you realize.
But I believe that they're saying that because someone shoved it down their throat and didn't talk to them. But you know what's really interesting?
Religion shoved it down.
I know, but it's always nuance, and the problem is there's no nuance. Let's have a nuance.
Right, and that's nobody's fault. That's just what's happened.
See the documentary, The Case for 8?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Rob Reiner and all these wealthy liberals.
The kids in Central Park?
No. The Case for 8 was when Prop 8 in California passed.
Oh, the marriage equality.
Okay, banning gay marriage in California. Right. And all these liberals got together in LA.
We blame the Mormons.
Okay, all these wealthy liberals got together in LA to put together some money for where they wanted to go all the way to the Supreme Court to get that case knocked down. Okay. And that if they could get it knocked down at the Supreme Court, then to my understanding, this would create legal federal gay marriage. Okay, because it would be a Supreme Court decision that would make it Prop 8 illegal. This would open up gay marriage across the country. Okay, so this was a bunch of liberals in LA that were getting together to put this, you know, political group together to get this lawsuit going. They were going to fund it. All these rich Hollywood liberals. Okay, there's a very famous Christian Republican lawyer, the most powerful lawyer in the world. He was the one that won the Chad's race that put George Bush in when Al Gore won the election because we had a slanted Supreme Court. This guy named David Boyce, Christian, Republican. Okay, he heard about these liberals in California that were putting this initiative together, and he went to them and he said, "Let me take this case, and I'll win gay marriage for America." They thought they were being infiltrated. They thought David Boyce. This is the most amazing documentary. It's called The Case for 8. Sorry.
I remember Prop 8.
They thought they were being infiltrated. This Republican Christian was like, "Yeah, make me your lawyer," but they agreed to meet with him. Okay, he sat down and they were like, "Why possibly would you take this case? You're a Republican. You won the Chad's case for George Bush. You're totally partisan, and you're Christian, but you want to fight for gay marriage." He says, "Listen, I'm not." And again, I'm paraphrasing. He said, "I'm not going to tell you that I agree with homosexuality." And again, if I'm misphrasing this, watch the documentary. You can see what he actually said. But I'm saying that because I'm a Christian, I believe in marriage. And I'll tell you one thing: as a Republican Christian, I'm not going to be able to stop gay people from wanting to get married. It's not going to happen. And because I can't stop them from being in love and I'm not going to stop people from being gay. It's never going to happen. So because I can't stop them, since they're going to be together, then I think they have the right to get married. So you have a better chance of winning if you let somebody from the other side take the case for you. And they agreed. And if you watch this documentary, I cried at the end of it. David Boyce takes this case all the way to the Supreme Court and wins gay marriage for America. He did win it.
Is that the case? I don't think.
No, they struck down Prop 8. Dude, watch the documentary.
But I thought the case that won gay marriage was a lesbian couple. Was about a lesbian couple.
I think the first blow was striking down Prop 8. And that was done by David. Yeah. Watch that.
Either way. See, Jamie, like, in my opinion, they're religious. Wait. In my opinion, they're religious.
When you sit down and you talk to people, it's nuanced.
Yeah,
it's not just these two polar out. You know, like people.
Yeah. And that would be great if people did that, Jamie. So how do we get people to actually do that, Jamie?
I don't know. I didn't want to talk this. People are going to use this against me because I probably said
against you. It's a very good idea, Jamie. You're right. We have to learn how to talk to each other better. We have not been talking to each other in a very long time. I have been on about this. I've been on this for the longest time. I talk about in the 90s, we at least talked about stuff. We argued about things that matter. I'm talking about the politics. And now we argue about bullshit. We don't even argue about real things anymore. So whether or not climate change, I mean, like, it's just silly. So like, yeah, how do we get back to actually talking about the things? Because that's the point. We're supposed to have two sides that argue with each other how to get to a solution. But the two sides are arguing the reality. They're arguing different realities now.
Here's how you do it. I have the solution. You ready? And then can we talk about the space captain after that?
Less tense.
Here's how you do it. Do you know who Daryl Davis is?
No.
Daryl Davis is a black guy. He's a black jazz musician.
Oh no.
He tours, the United States and the world, but I think most,
clutching my pearls.
And he was a guy that became a public figure maybe around 10 years ago, because it came out that this black guy had gotten something like 200, maybe it was even more, 200 to 400 KKK members to put down their robes and renounce the KKK.
Yay.
Okay, do you know how he did it?
Talking to them, engaging. No shit.
He even tells a story.
Hey, speaking of the sea captain, you ever heard this one? Communication is the universal solvent.
He even tells a story about how one of his KKK friends asked him to borrow his tour bus to go to another state for a KKK rally. Okay. And he let him do it. And I was watching this interview with him. And then the interviewer was like, why on earth would you possibly do that? And the guy was like, well, I grew up in the military all over the world, and I just used to see subcultures everywhere. So when I first came across, this is Daryl, I'm paraphrasing Daryl. If I got it wrong, Daryl, I'm sorry. There's a lot of Daryl Davis interviews on YouTube. But when I first came across the white supremacist, I just saw them as another subculture, like racist as a subculture. I didn't take it personally. And what would happen is he would talk to them and he would get to know them, and he would just ignore that part. And then they would start to see him as a person. And then dozens, hundreds of times, because he was talking to them and they were engaging, they were like, I just can't be a Klansman anymore. It happened hundreds of times. Google Daryl Davis. Okay. So that's why I say it's a shell game. The way that this liberal media, the liberal and the right media work, is that they create this shouting match where they make it so that we don't want to talk to each other anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all I'm saying.
Yes, that's where we are now. That's where we are now. We don't want to talk to each other. Wait. I thought it was my turn. When do I get a turn? I thought I get a turn. Do I get my 90 seconds? Where's my 90 seconds?
I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to bring it over to the space captain. Guess who is representing...
When do I get to talk, Kenya?
Guess who's representing the Jane Does in their harassment case against the mothership and the current space captain? The most powerful litigator in the world. The guy that run gay marriage. The Republican Christian that run gay marriage. David Boyce.
All right.
He's and he so the most powerful litigator in the world is now taking on the mothership. And I guarantee you that guy, he's in his 80s. He's wealthy. He doesn't take contingency cases. He's got something on his mind. This guy's used to winning, and he, for whatever reason, he's decided that he and his team are not okay with the mothership.
Good. That's good. It's good to have him on that side, our side. Let's see if we can get him to argue citizenship. Yeah. What is that? I can't remember what the term is. But the birthright. That's it. Birthright citizenship.
So you said you wanted to talk. Can we get off this call now? I'm so done.
No, I keep trying to say something about something you said like half an hour ago. Oh shit! So I've already forgotten. See, this is why
I'm tired. I'm sure we've offended lots of people. Should we go now? It's safer.
To me, See, the issues of gay marriage and a lot of these issues, to me, are offensive on their face because we live in a society that claims to offer equality. And that's the end of the conversation as far as I'm concerned. That religious people have a problem with stuff doesn't actually matter to me. I don't think it should matter to people. I don't think it should matter to the state. I don't think it should matter to the government.
I don't think all religious people have a problem with it.
But the reason gay marriage or marriage equality, the reason a woman's right to choose, the reason these are such hot political issues is because of the religiosity. It is the religious conviction that is that on which the
I have no data on
the argument. I do.
I would argue that with the internet and ubiquitous.
All right, so before the internet. So let's just talk about stuff that existed before the internet, Jamie. We're old enough. We can do that.
Well, nothing existed before the internet. There was nothing here. It was a primitive.
That's defeatist.
All right. So are we done? This has been torture. You want to talk about the mothership at all or no?
Sure. What do you want to say about the mothership today?
I don't know. You talk about it.
Oh, I was thinking today, I thought it would be useful. I think this ex-Scientology conversations might be useful to people who might at some point want to
let's start with
wait, let me finish the sentence. To some people who might at some point want to get out of the Trump cult. I think we could be helpful.
You don't think the left has a cult too?
They don't have a cult leader, Jamie. They never have. Just like, it's like they try to make George Soros out to be some sort of liberal. Like, I barely even know who that guy is. Rupert Murdoch, that's a very different thing. Donald Trump is very different than Bill Clinton? What? No, it's a completely different animal, man. If you don't see that, I don't know what to say.
All right. Well, if someone didn't know who we were and they came across this stream, it would just be a bizarre menagerie of, insanity. We're like just talking like we're going to spin off the planet.
Okay. What's wrong with that?
No,
see,
I'm just saying.
See, you're beholden to like old school terrestrial media where there has to be like a theme and a format and a script. That's not what this is about, man. We're keeping it real.
Okay. All right. So can we take questions or talk about the mothership? One or the other. I'm winding.
Oh, we're gonna take questions. We have questions.
Is there anybody even watching this thing?
Yes, we had like 48 people at one point. Trump cult, the Trump cult. We argue like, someone says we argue like brothers. Gee, I wonder why. That's the fun for me, man. We didn't get to do this when we were kids. David Boise. Is that the writer you're talking about? Is that the lawyer?
Yeah. And he's now got his sights set on.
Oh, here we go. And we try to pretend like this isn't real, but that happened for real. And that they did what they do.
Listen,
they've been doing it for a long time. You don't think that has something to do with our inability to communicate? I'm not for nothing. Like I don't know. It can certainly be argued that the mainstream media exaggerates. There's a lot of exaggeration. There's a lot of incendiary. There's a lot of funny thing. What? Hey, come on. Okay. There's a lot of what you're eating for dinner might kill you tonight. News at 11. They at some point. Okay, this story, right? The news used to be a service, a public service.
Yeah.
And then Reagan took that away, and then they started seeing it as a profit center, and it's competing for eyeballs. So we get into the game of the news is now competing for ratings. That's where the insanity begins, Jamie, if you really want to know the truth.
I agree.
So in that, yes, the left anybody, whatever, the mainstream starts being more and more, we've got the thing. Oh my God, it's so shocking what so-and-so said. You gotta, the clickbait kind of mentality begins. And it was Rupert Murdoch said himself. It was that he feels like he was responding to. He thought that the liberal media or that the mainstream media had gotten liberal. And it was specifically over the thing about, I think it had something to do, I forget, but there was some specific thing. There was some specific thing that happened. But what I'm saying, what I'm arguing, what I believe to be true is that is the viewpoint of a painfully biased person. And as Stephen Colbert used to say, the truth does have a known liberal bias.
I mean, come on. Until there
I'm
was Fox
sorry,
News, it
Jamie. I'm
was
sorry.
liberal.
I just like, again, I keep going back to remember what we knew before the internet started fucking it up, before Fox News came along.
Well,
it was a very different world. It was a very different understanding of
I
things.
can
You
express
actually had to
every
go
aspect.
somewhere and do something to know something.
I don't believe any of us existed before the internet until I could like
That's
have my
silly.
life on permanent
That's silly.
display.
Well, here's the thing. Either way, however
I
confused,
really didn't even exist. So, you know,
right.
we should start human history at 2000 because that's when we actually began to live, when we could like just
And that's
in front
nihilist.
of each
That's a
other at all
nihilistic attitude. That's exactly
times.
what's
Oh
heading
no,
us down
it's
the
not.
road we're heading down.
So what do you
It's
think
this
about
idea
that?
that nothing really matters.
What
What
do you
does it
think about
matter?
that, Daniel? That the most powerful litigator in the world, the guy that not only won the case for the hanging chads for George Bush, but won gay marriage for America, has now got his sights. Time magazine called this guy the most powerful litigator in the world, or one of them.
Sounds like he should be on the Supreme Court.
And now he's a litigator. He's an attorney. Do you think? What do you think about him deciding that he's going after the mothership?
I don't know what you mean. I said it sounds like a good thing. So I'm glad to have him on our side.
But he's a Republican.
So what bias do you think I have?
What I'm saying is
what presumption are you speaking to, Jamie?
Well, I'll give you. You just said the cult of Trump. That's interesting because Steve Hassan put out a book called that. But I remember being at a dinner in 2000. Right before the election where Biden won, so 2020. I was at a dinner in Chicago and there was a special forces colonel there, and there was like a Hollywood actor there, and I was with this doctor and a successful Hollywood actor and a special forces colonel. We're having dinner at my favorite restaurant in Chicago, which is Shaw's Fish House, and
anybody who talks about Chicago always talks about the restaurants.
Yeah, and we sit down, and the election was going on. Maybe I can't remember what trip it was. It was time where I was going there a lot, and it's right at the beginning of the dinner, and I don't know how all these people are going to get along. Like, how is the special forces colonel going to get along with the actor? Like, I didn't know what the dinner was going to be, and we barely sit down. And the special forces colonel puts his head up, lifts his head and says, "I voted for Trump." Everybody at the table went silent. Okay. And the Hollywood actor guy kind of looks up. He's looking around like it, right? And we're like this moment of like, what's going on here? Like we haven't even had like, "Hey, how are you?" yet, And then he said he didn't get us involved in any of these foreign wars that got my buddies killed. So the decision's that simple for me. Right. And then the actor guy goes, "Makes sense to me." And then like kind of got into his soup or something, And so I'm just saying that, everybody has their reasons for doing things, and sometimes they're not so obvious. But what I have found about human beings is that typically the kind of person someone isn't represented by their ideology. Like, I meet people with all sorts of ideologies, people that have an ideology that would signal as good that aren't very good people. And then I meet people with ideologies where I think that they would have all these biases that I would disagree with, and they have more integrity than almost anyone I've ever met. So it goes back to the message of this whole talk, which is talk to the people you disagree with in a way that enlists understanding, and listen to them.
Now you're too ahead of. Wait, let me say one thing real quick, because how do we get people at the table, Jamie?
Well,
people don't want to talk to each other. I think there's lots of people in the world who understand there's ways to talk about this stuff.
I don't know that
passion and understanding, but the problem is people don't want to talk to each other. People don't want, and one of the big problems.
Pay grade. That's about. I didn't say I could get everybody to the table. I'm saying that. But Daniel, are there more questions? Can we ask?
I was just going to say one of the problems is that people are very unwilling to admit they've made a mistake or that they were wrong. It's easier to dupe a man than convince him he's been duped. And that, I think, is the problem. So people, like, I find this true when I engage with people like that they don't really want to talk about it because somewhere deep down inside, they know they're wrong. they fucked something up, they got confused, they got tricked. And so there's a lot of pivot, there's a lot of straw man, there's a lot of what about that has nothing to do with it. So, and also I want to say something about your lawyer friend. The law is supposed to be non-political. That we even think of our Supreme Court as being right or left is wrong. There's a flaw there. The law, by definition, and a judge, by definition, should be non-political, should be non-biased. Now, that people are people, but we have totally fallen in line with some agreement, some bizarre agreement that it's okay to have a liberal Supreme Court or a conservative Supreme Court.
I hear you. I'm tired. I agree with you. Are we answering any more questions? Can we call it? We didn't give. OS is going to be really disappointed that they had to listen to this whole thing and we didn't talk about anything about them. Okay.
Well, good. That's the good way to hurt them. Fuck them. We don't give a shit. There's better things to talk about than those assholes, as awful as they are. But they like that. They like attention, I think. Here, somebody says, Tazzy D, Jamie, I'm 68 years old. I've lived in both hemispheres and worked in mental health for 30 years. I've seen a lot. The world is definitely less compassionate.
Now, Tazzy D, let me comment on that. I think you're absolutely right. And I think the reason you're right is what Daniel said earlier, because these vested interest for-profit news arms on the right and the left have exploited us. And I really do believe they've turned us against each other.
It's different.
All right, let me finish.
You misrepresent what I say. You just said that's not what I said, Jamie. That's not what I said. So I'm offended. So wait a minute. You just did what the media does. You just misrepresented what I said.
I agree, Tazzy D. And the reason is because the for-profit media on both sides has turned us against each other. But I 100% agree. The world is less compassionate. Word. Hold on. Let's do something important here. All right, Daniel.
Oh no! Why? Why are you doing that?
Okay. Next time we're going to talk about how I don't even think there's such thing as a Scientologist or an ex-Scientologist. I don't even think they exist.
No, it's all about how you define the terms. Very good lawyering. It's very good lawyering, Jamie.
All right. So what are we doing here?
I don't know. We can keep talking. I still had a few things to say about the things you keep saying.
Go talk.
Like Justice Alito, whatever. You're bored of it, but like, again on this issue of like, I get what
I'm flunking.
Don't do that.
Flunk for life.
Yeah, you're the one all worried about being triggered, and here you are intentionally trying to trigger me.
Flunk for getting angry. Flunk.
Yes, Jamie, I get it. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions?
You really want to go? All right. I just want your agreement that you'll come back. It's so hard to get you on here, man. And like everybody, they have these comments. It's just people great discussion.
It's just a bunch of people lying in wait for me to say something stupid. That's what it is. And again, I don't want anybody.
Yeah, here, Jamie, can't you see the comments?
No,
people
I can't.
Like this.
But listen, I want to. Oh, there's a comments thing over here, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I will say that I don't like coming on, and I don't like talking to you. And some of the other shows are bearable, but I don't like talking to you because it reminds me too much of the past. If I talk to someone that I didn't know when we were kids, then it's just me talking about the stuff. But when I'm talking about you and I have like memories of like little redheaded Danny at the Shangri-La, it's brutal. I don't enjoy this at all.
Well, let's come to present time. Wait, Jamie, let's come to present time and let's engage in getting to know. Let's engage in getting to know each other now.
My stepsisters, they used to babysit for me when I was a kid, before even Danny was born. Robin, Kelly, and Wendy. So it's just, I don't know, like it wears me out, and I don't really want to do any more shows anymore. Like I come on, I kind of talked about this healing modality, and now there's all these people on the Reddit, Discord, they're attacking me, they're attacking science, like it's not really necessarily doing any favors. What I care about, what I'm interested in, is I feel like what happened to us, at least my generation and many generations of people that grew up under the the captain, um, that story has never truly been told. Parts of it have been told, but really what it does is not ever been told. What I would like is for what happened to these lost generations of kids, and that story gets told. I mean, people do not. If you just knew how many of the kids that I grew up with had the suicides, the drug addiction, and then my own child. I believe that what I've endured, honestly, I believe this was torture. So I find that when I do this stuff with you, Daniel, it just reminds me of my torture. Whereas I feel like when I do it with someone else, it's not so personal. Honestly, that's my beef.
Do you feel that way when we talk offline?
No, I don't. I feel that way
because you yell at me just the same.
Well, you do all the yelling, but
watch one of these videos, Jamie. You do plenty of yelling.
You're just a angry, fierce, screaming queen. I mean, that's just what this has become.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. No, I don't know. No, it's not. It's offline. I don't know. I think that what people, because I spent the last year not leaving my house, writing, looking up what happened to me, because I never looked at it before, and writing it down. I'm different. I'm tired because I've been living in it for the last year, and I think that maybe it's that. I was writing.
Well, that's why I'm trying to encourage us to talk about other things, so that we don't have to talk about that. Doesn't our relationship, our conversations don't have to be about the thing that triggers us. It could be about other things.
Do you know why I'm wearing this hat? It's for you. Do you know why I'm wearing it?
Because you're sadistic.
No. What is it supposed to represent?
Ron.
No.
It's
I'm wearing this hat to represent the village people. Because I thought you would like it if I wore like a village people hat. Okay,
Jamie, Jamie, you're being weird. You're being weird. You're wearing that hat because of the old man.
No, it's
the village people.
In the Navy.
I'm not a fan of the village
people. Seas. You know that song? In the Navy.
I've heard it. Yes.
Okay, it's a village people hat for you.
For me, am I a fan of the village people? I had no idea.
I had
no idea.
I thought all gay people love the village.
Does that mean do I get to assume?
Saying that all?
Do I get to assume that means you're a big fan of Drake?
I don't.
Don't you love Drake?
I don't know one Drake song. No, this is definitely. I'm wearing this. This is for Osa. This has nothing to do with you. This is the village people, in honor of my brother, to show respect for a band that I know he loves.
Oh, don't do that. I don't.
You don't like the village people?
Of course not.
What? You don't think In the Navy is a good song?
No, it's not a good song.
You don't think At the YMCA is a good song?
It's novelty music.
It's
okay. It's not bad. It's just what it is.
And At the YMCA came on, you wouldn't get up and dance. Don't be
Jamie. Not for nothing. I don't mean to toot my horn or whatever, but I don't think I've ever heard that song played in a club. And I used to club hard in New York City, and gay clubs. No, the music in the gay clubs in New York City is a lot better than that. A lot better. Trust me. They're not playing old bullshit. And even if they are, it's just sampled in somewhere. It's not even
I'm very disappointed.
Well, you don't know about gay culture, Jamie.
I wear a village people hat, and you got to make everything about the space cadets and the mothership and the space captain and the love boat. I can't do something. I can't just like the village people. What are you saying? Are you saying because
you were telling me I like the village people?
You do.
No, I don't.
Oh, you do. You love the village people.
Oh my God, you sound like my mother right now. Don't do this. Okay. Don't do this. That is triggering. Don't you tell me. Oh yes, you do. Okay. Yeah. No, I don't.
So, Daniel?
Yeah.
Can you just, because I don't want Osa to be mad at me, can you just say that you like the village people and that you appreciate me wearing the hat because you like the village people, so that they understand that this is me honoring you with music you love, and I'm not trying to make any offense to them.
Oh, is this code speak? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, see, I'm really bad at this. No.
Come on, let's try.
I won't degrade myself like this. I will not.
Say it like this.
You do it. No.
I love the So
All right,
simple.
Jamie,
Village,
I'm about to cut you out.
people.
Can I mute him?
Simple.
There we go. Keep going.
Okay.
No, did I tell you the thing about the Village People? That guy from the Village People is trying to claim that that's not a gay anthem, and anybody who says so is he's going to sue them.
So is it a gay anthem?
Well, I can tell you this much: it ain't up to him. That's not how anthems work. But yeah, I believe it was. I don't know if it would necessarily be considered such a thing today. It's a song that nobody gave a shit about. That's why Donald Trump was allowed to use it, because real musicians wouldn't let him use their music. Bruce Springsteen told him to stop. John Fogerty told him to stop. A bunch of artists told him to stop using their music, and the Village People just didn't care.
Lone Dinosaur 13 says this is a trap. What does that mean? Anyway, I'm tired. I've been working on a thing about my life, which is not necessarily all about them. There's a lot more to my life than the mothership. And
Yeah.
But it's been really intense, man. It's been a dark. I never realized how much happened and how dark it was, and how much, and even with, and I left out so much. But it wasn't just, the first people that should have been protecting us. Okay, listen to this, Osa. Pay very close attention. Should have been our parents. Quote me on that. Okay, it doesn't mean what you guys did that you didn't do, but our parents were the first line of defense, and they let us down. Right? But you know what cheers me up? No matter how down I am, YMCA. If I hear YMCA come on, if that's a song, it's kind of hard to be bummed out when you're listening to that song. Right? Let's hear it from the chat.
Maybe 15 years, maybe before 2014, I might have said
And
that.
I can't believe that you're
I think he's totally tainted that song forever. I can't believe
you're shitting
I can't even have fun with that song anymore because it's associated with a cretin. And I know, but even more, I'm annoyed and frustrated and offended by the cop, the guy now trying to say the last living member trying to claim now that it's not a gay anthem.
Tazzy D, I really appreciated your comment. No, one of the other reasons that I don't like doing streams with Daniel is because he's very opinionated, and
that's the good thing. I thought that was a good thing.
The other reason I don't like doing shows with Daniel, mostly is it because it just reminds me too much of the past. Because there's just so much that happened, like I look at you, if I'm talking about this thing, it's already hard to talk about it, but there's not a time we ever do these conversations and I don't think about you 50 feet from the back door of the Chateau Elise, where the celebrity place is, and John being in the re-education camp for years at a time. But even when he was on it and when he wasn't on it, 50 feet from you, there were probably 50, literally the Shangri-La, the slum motel that his mother used to run across the street, literally across the street, 50 effing feet away, was John. And Daniel, never saw John Mustard. And like, when I look at you, that's the memory that I see. And I think about, I think about all the horrors, the horrible things that happened to you at Shangri-La the night. Like, I know bad things happened there. And so when we do these streams, it's like, I have to I can't not think about that shit in my head. Whereas when it's somebody else, it doesn't get under my skin.
I hear you. But let me ask you a favor, Jamie. Although I appreciate your sympathy, I really, really need you to stop.
It's fuck sympathy. I don't care about you. I'm trying to protect myself.
No, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not being a Scientologist. I'm not using that in a Scientology way. I mean, sympathy is a good thank you. I do actually appreciate I'm not being sarcastic. But I really need you to start seeing me now more and less that there.
Homeless Mustard?
I'm not homeless anymore, Jamie.
No, but that's your nickname. That's your moniker. I mean,
okay, then fine. Then fine. Let's think about Homeless Mustard and not the little neglected kid with shit on his face.
All right, so let's end this talking a little bit about. Let's give Osa. I mean,
Thank you. Wait. How about seeing him as the man? I have the same problem with my sisters, though. They all still think I'm 8 years old.
Rebel, if you knew what we've seen,
She does.
Would, okay.
She grew up in Scientology too.
Oh, she did, but I don't know what it was like in all the different. I just.
No, yeah, it's different, and yeah, she gets it.
Okay, let's talk about. Okay, so
here we go. Somebody says you got to reframe your relationship with good memories.
I'm not judging.
Nobody said you were, but that's the point, because you're right. I understand that, like, you're reminded of these things, and that's normal. That makes sense. But like, that's why we want to keep talking and forming new memories and having new ideas about each other.
I have a relative that grew up with us there, and I don't want to name who it is, so don't try to guess. That said that he or she didn't want to see me.
Them
didn't want to see me anymore because I reminded them of what happened to us.
Wow. Yeah.
So
that's somebody not dealing with it. That's trauma. The way out is through, right? So that is, I think,
okay.
Not dealing.
Why am I wearing?
Be honest.
Why am I wearing this?
Because you're a homo.
Oh, I can't believe it. Dude, you're homophobic. You're giving me this homophobic.
Because you're so gay. Because you're in the Navy. You joined the Navy. Oh my God.
Jesus Christ. I'm in the Navy.
You're not allowed to do that, Jamie.
Oh my God. Okay, so let's talk. Okay, so what I've been thinking about the last year is it's been brutal. I just finished this thing, and just looking back, I didn't really realize what I had survived, and then combing through it over the last year has been brutal. So it's different. Had I not done that, and had not been living in it for the last year, I don't think I would have such a hard time talking to you online, honestly. And but what I've been thinking a lot about lately is just the language. I don't believe there's such thing as an SCNer, because I feel like that's Hubbard's thing, right? I don't even think there's such thing as a Scientologist. It's a bunch of constructs. And I think that in all of this channels where people talk about it, they use his language like it's a real thing. They're like terminal or lower conditions or the RPF. There's no such thing as the RPF. There's just his re-education camp. And I really do think they use his terms like it's a real thing. I can't stand to watch it anymore. Because
it's funny. I use some terms tongue in cheekily and jokily and to kind of throw things around. I like making fun of it. I like making fun of language. I like playing with language in general. That's something I do, and I like playing with his language, making fun of his language. But you're right. I do hear too many. Sometimes people sounding too much, slipping into their old programming.
Yeah, and I never. It's been really.
But that's why something like community is important, because we can say that. We go, you're slipping into your old programming.
I don't like that. That's what you said that pisses me off the most. And listen, get your fucking ethics in. Get your manners in. Get your ethics in right now. Okay, now.
There's my manners, baby. There's my manners.
Okay, let me tell you something. Okay, I'm going to give you a severe reality adjustment. Okay, all right. There is no community. You can't. It's just a bunch of torture victims. Torture victims don't want to be a member.
I'm sorry, Jamie. But again, we had this argument already, folks. We have a very different. Wait, let me finish. Let me say this one bit. We just have a very different definition of that word. And again, I keep referring back to in recovery, and also as a queer person, we create community out of all sorts of people and all sorts of.
When he says recovery and queer person, right?
Because those are places where people commonly create community. Out of strangers and weirdos and queers.
Okay.
Family even. Right. So, like the construct of a community, everything's a fucking construct. But, the people that this conversation includes, other than people touched or are affected by Scientology, are other people who are also traumatized in some kind of way and recognize
he's out ethics.
Us for that, and
he's out
the recovery we're attempting, and the recovery part.
Okay, he said it. He's out 2D. Okay, he's out ethics. He's a DB. Okay,
talking about Trump or L. Ron Hubbard?
You You.
Oh, me.
I'm telling the audience why they should not listen to your opinion.
Oh, no. I have no credentials. There is every reason in the world to dismiss me. I am the most lowly loser in the world. I dropped out of high school. I was born in a cult.
He's PTS.
I'm PTS. Oh, I'm a DB. I'm a degraded being. Oh, I'm the most degraded.
Conditions.
I'm a total fag.
Stimulated on the whole track.
Oh, my goodness.
He's probably stuck in an electronic incident.
Right? Oh, absolutely. Okay. Electronic. Oh, good one. Yes.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, like, to the people listening that don't know the inside baseball, all that shit doesn't mean anything. It's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of gobbledygook. Yeah. So let me ask you a question, and just tell me the answer. Be honest. Don't lie. Okay. Don't lie.
Have I ever lied to you, Jamie?
Don't fucking lie. You're going straight to the RPF. Okay.
I don't.
Are you out 2D?
Okay, so even within the Scientology conversation, I have a problem, which is if it depends on how you just define 2D. I had an issue with this because I am gay, so no matter what I do on the second dynamic, I'm out 2D.
So, are you saying you are or you aren't?
According to doctrine, sure. But what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything in real life, Jamie. No, of course not.
Where are you on the tone scale?
Right now, antagonism.
Well, according to the space captain, you're 1.1. This whole thing is just
all the time. There's never any exception. It's true, because that's how people are, Jamie. Right? Because he was talking out of his fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Or
so
he didn't know any gay people.
Yeah. So according to him, if you're gay, you're 1.1. Let me tell you other 1.1s in history. Adolf was 1.1.
I don't think so.
Charlie Manson was 1.1.
No.
Yeah. These guys are 1.1, bro. That's how they got into that's how they manipulated people.
Even by
Jim Jones.
Even by the Scientology definition of 1.1. No, those guys were not.
She doesn't sound ridiculous anyway.
It is. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. RuPaul is 1.1.
That's true. All right. So does anybody have any more questions, or am I released? I wanted to watch the sunset. The sun's going down. Man, should I take this off? Or do you want me to?
I hate it. Nora completely took down a Scientology sympathizer using Scientology terms. She flunked him big time. Well, she was a word clearer. Flunking people was her joy.
Flunk.
Am I wrong? That's the person that flunked people the most. Fat Grammy's telling me to own it, Jamie. And that's you.
No, is it own it, Daniel? Own it. LOL.
Telling me to own it.
I just hate doing these streams. Can this be the last one?
No. I want to do one every week. I think we should do this every Sunday, Jamie, till the day one of us dies. That's what I think.
I think this is stupid. And
well, good. Maybe that's why it's so much fun, because you're so antagonistic to it.
I think this is stupid, and we should talk about other stuff.
We did. We mostly talked about other stuff. You're the one that brought it back to the sea captain.
What I would like to see you do is I'd like to see you do the purification rundown. I'd like to see you get your fucking ethics in. Okay. I'd like to see you go into the Sea Org and stop complaining and start fucking contributing, Daniel, is what I would like to fucking see.
Right, okay. You do that, Jamie. You do
I'd like to see you get the show on the road.
See, he's mad at me because I didn't go. I didn't join the Sea Org. And he did.
Anyway, Daniel, if Daniel wasn't so out of ethics, he wouldn't even be in the situation he's in right now. This is what you guys have to understand. He's out of ethics. He's 1.1. He's PTS.
It's all my fault. I never thought anything else were true. I know. I wrote a song about it, Jamie. Don't trust me. I know. It's all my fault. Oh, everything is all mea culpa, right. Mea culpa, mea culpa.
Let's see if there's questions, and then they can let us go, right?
Here we go. Somebody says, related to teasing siblings.
There's no questions. There's just comments.
I know. There's no questions. We need questions. Ask us weird things. Here we go. We keep doing ketchup with mustard.
Okay, I'll go if you dress like a person of the village people for all streams. I think that's fair.
No, it's not. It's ridiculous. All right, I'll dress like the village people if you dress like RuPaul.
I would almost do that. Which guy would you be? Would you be the Navy guy? Would you be the construction worker? Like, who are you going to be? It depends on who you're going to be. Would you be like a pirate, like a gay pirate? Like, who would you?
I don't think that's one of the village people.
Okay, sorry. See, I don't know the music
because they're not gay, Jamie. If they were gay, then they'd have a butt pirate. Clearly, that's evidence that there's nothing gay about them. Clearly. Once a baby brother, always a baby brother.
Hey, Miriam, how are you? I love Miriam so much, and I'll tell you why. Because it's been a really weird week.
Wait, who's Miriam?
Miriam is Scientology up north.
Scientology up north. Okay.
It's been a really weird week. Like, this Neil Gaiman stuff has been really sad because most people don't know that he grew up in the Sea Org in East Grinstead at St. Hill, right? And I had always kind of hoped or thought that he got out of it without, being truly damaged. And I'm not justifying anything he's doing. It's horrific when you see these allegations, but I will say one thing is you have to understand about him is that BDSM was afflicted upon him, and it's just been sad. It's like to see that he's become what was done to him a little bit.
Hurt people.
Yeah, it's been really sad.
It's a very liberal notion, Jamie, to have sympathy for the damage of somebody who's done some bad.
Yeah, so that's been really
watch
hard.
out.
I'm really tired from that because that made me sad that all these people were victimized by someone that they considered a hero. That's been hard to hear. My hometown, our hometown, burning to the ground, and all of our friends and dealing with not being able to go outside because of the ash and just watching the fires of the hometown burn. Like, I love that place. That's where we grew up, and it's been really tiring. So, like, the combo of those two things,
speaking of our hometown burning down, what do you think of Donald Trump and Mike Johnson saying that FEMA relief should come with conditions? Could you imagine if we insisted on sweeping gun control in order if when Florida wants
so those are two bad things that happened. Miriam brought me some. Miriam is Scientology up north. One thing that she brought me that really helped me, she brought me some hope for the first time, some real hope in the last few months, because she introduced me to a guy named Robert Dam, who wrote a book. It's only in Danish right now. Who wrote a book called Hotels of Darkness. And this guy was a public guy that was, part of the a Hubbardite that's now out of it, that did a bunch of research and wrote a book about what happened to the kids. And the fact that someone that wasn't a kid in it, that I just feel like with all the shows and books and whatever, if you look at what the biggest tragedy and travesty in what this organization has done, the worst thing they've done is what has been done to the children, what was done to you, what was done to me, not just the ones like me that were born and went right into the machine, but also ones like you that were on the outskirts of the machine being given the same bullshit.
Yeah, forced into the same.
And nobody, it's the greatest injustice ever inflicted. It's a mass destruction of child minds. Okay. And there's been 10 books now, 20 books, 30 books. And finally, in Danish, we have a book about the kids. It should have been the first book. I
think we had to wait for some of the kids to grow up and write the book. That's what you're doing.
Wrote the book, Hotels of Darkness. I'm sure it'll be translated into English. Did not grow up in it. He had a moment in the 80s where he saw something with the kids and he turned the other way and it haunted him. And eventually he's written the first book. And one of the things that's been the most distressing part of this whole thing when I was not, is that no one has ever cared about what happened to us. And we were programmed our whole lives to believe that whatever happened to us was our fault. We have a term called we pulled it in. And if you're 2 years old and you get your hand cut off, well, then it was from a last lifetime. So it gave me hope that maybe finally someone will start to pay attention to what happened to the kids. I don't think the story, like Catherine Spolino's book, does a really good job talking about what happened to a kid. Jenna's book does that. So it's not like it's ever been touched. But what happened here was a mass destruction of child minds by the thousands on multiple continents and multiple geographies. That story on a macro level of what was done to the children has never been told. And that is the story that should have been the first book. And that is what people need to be interested in. That's the story that needs to be told. And anybody, all these people that were in it, that were recruited, that weren't born in it, try to like hamper that story down. And when you hear them hamper that story down, ask yourself, do they have a vested interest in negating or lessening what happened to the kids? Yeah, they were there and walked right by it. Okay, so there's plenty of people that were recruited into this thing, the older generation that I have friendships with that I love. I'm not trying to, assassinate them. But when you hear any one of them lesson about this mass destruction of the child mind by the thousands, these kids were destroyed and they don't live. They're dead for the rest of their lives, a lot of these kids, because of what happened to them. And you hear these guys that were recruited into it act like whoop-de-doo. Ask yourself, do they have a vested interest in making that into no big deal? And the reason I say it is because I have a pretty good life, okay? And I'm one of the ones that made it. And I don't know how I did that, but that is where the attention needs to go. I don't always agree with the way that Serge talks, but Serge is the one talking about it. And that's what I wish there was more conversation about. What happened to these lost generations of children over decades, thousands and thousands of children, what was done to them. Oh, all right.
And what's the name of the book, Jamie?
My book that's coming out?
Yeah.
It's called Child X.
Child X.
It's on pre-order.
Do I get a copy?
Of course, you'll get a signed copy. But again, it tells the story, I think, of what happened to the kids. And again, for Scientology, like, it's not about me hurting you, trying to attack you, trying to do anything to you. It's not about you. It's about that these kids didn't die invisibly. Many of these kids didn't die invisibly and in vain, and didn't have their families and their lives destroyed without anybody caring. It's about them. It's not about you. So you might not even think that. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Okay, and that is the story that I want told, not just by me, by others, because that book's never written. I'd like to see a few years where this is all everybody talks about, where all of that gets excavated. It got excavated. Some of it got excavated on the Aftermath, which did a brilliant job. But if you look deeper, the story goes way deeper. There's way more than you think there are. And it's way darker than you think it is. And that story has never been told. And I want the story of the lost children, the lost generations of children of this group. I want their story told.
Your story, our story, their story.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Because I think it can tell human beings a lot about themselves and what human beings are capable of. I don't think it's just our story. I think it's a human story. I think it's your story. And whatever, sometimes people ask me what they can do to help. What you can do to help is talk about the kids, ask questions about the kids. Where are the kids now? And what happened to them? All right.
We got DEI'd out of a job.
Okay, yeah. So, and Miriam is saying there's still kids, and she's right.
There's still kids in. We're trying to do our best to expose and bring an end to it. That's why I'm here, and that's why Moni's here. as well as many others. Yeah. And that's why I use the word community, Jamie, because there's a lot of people here with a common goal and looking out for, and who have each other's backs, who aren't attacking each other. You know, it's just a couple of people who are really bullheaded and
I don't think it's
whatever.
a community. I think it's just a campaign, but I hear you.
And
But yeah, and Miriam, I'm really hopeful that Robert Dam's book tells that story. And I think that everyone can heal, because even the people that are still in and running it, the people that are listening to this, you know, calling me 1-1 in their mind right now, because they live in that construct.
But you're not 1-1. I mean, 1-1 literally means overtly hostile. You're very overtly hostile.
My point is that most people that are in, even maybe some of the ones watching us right now, thinking that we're the devil or that I'm quote attacking them, which I'm not. I'm standing for myself, and I'm standing for the kids that aren't around to stand for themselves. All right, hopefully.
And you see that you're doing exactly what you said earlier about engaging nuanced conversation.
Okay.
And that's part of why we do these things, because sometimes we're hoping they're listening too and get and understand that we're not foaming at the mouth. We're not monsters. We're not creatures. We're not SPs. We're not trying to destroy.
What you need to understand is that most of the people that are in there, most of the people, even some of the people that are watching us right now that want to hurt us or destroy us or see themselves as being attacked, most of them are good people. When you go in there and you're around those people and you're in that thing, they're there because they really think that they can change the world. They're not there because they're bad people. They're good people. And I think by telling the truth of what was done that was unjust, that everyone can heal. They can heal. I can heal. You can heal. That maybe we can see the beginning of healing. But it's not just our healing; it's their healing too. And that's the thing. When you think about the people that are in there, know that they're good people, and know that a lot of them know that most of them are there because they want to change the world and they want to make the world a better place. And most of them don't know my story, don't know our story. If we don't tell this story soon, the people that are around to tell it are going to be gone. Okay. So anyway, that's
this is why, this is another reason why we do these streams, tell these stories, Jamie.
Yeah. So, I have nothing but love. Okay. For the people that are been through this, and for the people that are still going through this, that are in it now, going through it. All right. Well, maybe not nothing but love, maybe a little bit of resentment. Okay. but
and sympathy.
Yeah. All right, Daniel. So unless there's a question, can I get the hell out of here and never come back?
I think we're good. You can go.
Okay.
You are not beholden, but you gotta do it again. And again and again and again. And we don't have to talk about Scientology.
Okay. I'll do it again, but I don't want to be part of a community. I'm not part of a community.
You're not. That's how community works, Jamie. You're only part of a community if you believe you're in a part of a community. Yeah. It is a self-identity.
I agree. Thank you, Colleen. It's a very good idea, but I was hoping that Daniel would be the construction worker. So we had the construction worker. The Navy guy, was there like a EMT, like a cop?
No, it was a cowboy, an Indian, a construction worker, a cop.
For a guy that's not a fan, you know a lot. Okay.
I know a lot about pop culture.
Okay. All right.
And also, I've been seeing the Village People a lot lately, Jamie.
So who do you want to be? Do you want to be the cowboy, the Indian?
No, I like the idea of being the butt pirate.
Okay, you heard of it. Danny agrees.
No, I didn't agree to shit.
Next episode, he will be the pirate.
And he's not one of the Village People, Jamie. That's a whole nother band.
He's the 6th Village person, dude. We're making him part of the Village People. Okay.
Well, then let's do an astronaut.
Okay. All right. This has been great. Thank you.
Wait, Tazzy D, not for nothing. We can all wear chaps. I think we all need some chaps.
Yeah. All right. And again, all you people listening, please, in the chat, say how stupid these chats are, how they don't go anywhere. We meander all over the place with half information. And beg Daniel in the comments to not do any more of these so I can be set free. Okay? Please.
They like it. They like it, Jamie. They like it.
Set me free. Okay.
Set me free.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
hopefully you'll overwhelm you people on the replay crew. You'll overwhelm the comments with, "That's great. You did it. This is the last one." Mic drop.
Yeah, we need the overwhelm, definitely. Insistence.
Okay. So drop the mic.
Either way.
Please let Daniel know how boring and stupid and self-indulgent these are, so that we can just.
But we love the Mustard Brothers.
Oh God.
Too bad, Jamie. We love you. Want you
Oh,
back.
it's horrible. It's really horrible.
It was wonderful.
Say that,
No way,
Daniel,
says
please.
Mr. Anderson.
Oh, don't say it, Peter. Come on, Pete. Help me. Is anybody out there for me? Anybody with me? Help me here.
Nope.
Tell me how. This is boring AF. Nobody wants to hear it. Okay. Please let Daniel know in the chat. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of space. And it's time to move on. Oh, come on, Colleen. Who's with me? Who's with me?
Nobody's with you. You're just wrong, Jamie. You're going to have to deal with that.
Is going to be more rational. No offense, people in the comments. Okay, but I'm really hoping the replay crew is going to be more rational. Okay?
There's some return to common sense, right?
Stace, you're killing me, Stace.
Oh, here we go. That's a good one.
Oh, God, Pete. I like Pete's photo. Do you see Pete's photo? It's very Village People. He's got a shirt off. Right?
I get, yeah. Is he Village People? Why? Because he has his shirt off? That's Village People?
Shirt off and a beard. Okay? Yeah, what do you want?
You laughed. You laughed.
All right. All right. Are we, I like that, man. Am I free?
I don't know what that is. Yeah, whatever. You want to go? You want to go? I don't know. I could just keep doing this. I swear some people just like talk forever. Yeah, you want to go? You want to go? Oh, we got to go. We got to go.
Okay, listen. Exit stage that away. Hey, which book are you reading, Colleen?
Iconist. The Iconist. Iconist.
What you can do for me, for us, is keep the story of what happened to the kids alive. Okay. All right. Let's call it a wrap.
All right. Let's call it a wrap.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Appreciate y'all.
Love you, Jamie.
Please, in the comments, last thing I want to say, please let Daniel know how stupid and ridiculous these streams are. And that you don't want to see them anymore, and beg him to release me and agree with me that he should not ask me to do this, and to move on to playing his beautiful, amazing music with his amazing voice.
I can do both. I can make music and yell at you at the same time.
Just Google Child X and you'll see the Simon & Schuster page or something will come up and you can pre-order it. Okay. But okay, the people in the comments listening, you're not on my side, people. You're not. But I have faith in the replay crew. Yeah, that's right. You right there. And please let Daniel know just how stupid, how ridiculous these things are. Okay, that's a wrap. Love you all.
You're telling the people that watch to tell you it's ridiculous.
All right. I have faith in the replay crew. See y'all later. Okay.
Replay.
Okay. Bye. Bye.